I want to tell you something that the vision care industry would rather you did not know. Blurry vision after 60 is not inevitable. Dry, scratchy eyes are not simply a fact of aging. The difficulty you have reading in dim light, the way your eyes take longer to adjust when you walk into a dark room, the sensitivity to glare when you drive at night, none of these are things you simply have to accept. They are symptoms. And symptoms have causes. And causes, when they are correctly identified, can be addressed. My name is Dr. Kelly Robbins. I have spent the last 22 years researching the nutritional biochemistry of age-related eye disease, specifically the role that oxidative stress and chronic inflammation play in driving the visual decline that affects the majority of adults over 60 in the developed world. And here is what 22 years of research has taught me. The vision care industry is extraordinarily good at treating symptoms. Eye drops for dryness, stronger lenses for blur, anti-VEGF injections for macular degeneration, surgical removal of cataracts. These are not useless. Many of them are genuinely necessary and genuinely helpful. But they're downstream interventions. They are responses to damage that has already occurred. And virtually none of the mainstream vision care conversation addresses what the research increasingly identifies as the root cause of most age-related visual decline: oxidative stress, and the chronic inflammation it triggers. Let me explain what these terms actually mean in the context of your eyes, because I think they deserve more clarity than they typically receive. Your retina, the light-sensitive tissue at the back of your eye, is among the most metabolically active tissues in the human body. It processes an extraordinary volume of visual information every second of every waking hour, and it does so through a series of biochemical reactions that generate significant amounts of reactive oxygen species, unstable molecules that, if not neutralized, cause progressive oxidative damage to cellular membranes, proteins, and DNA. In youth, your eye's antioxidant defense systems, primarily glutathione, superoxide dismutase, and dietary carotenoids absorbed from food, neutralize these reactive species efficiently. The damage is repaired faster than it accumulates. Vision remains clear and stable. After 60, two things change simultaneously and compound each other. First, your body's production of endogenous antioxidants declines. The internal defense system becomes less robust. Second, the inflammatory response in your eye tissue becomes dysregulated. What should be a brief, targeted inflammatory signal in response to cellular damage becomes a chronic, low-grade inflammatory state that persists even when there is nothing acute to respond to. This chronic inflammation disrupts the blood-retinal barrier, degrades the photoreceptor outer segments, promotes the formation of drusen, the deposits associated with macular degeneration, and accelerates the oxidative protein cross-linking responsible for cataract formation. The National Eye Institute has been clear in its published research. Dietary antioxidant intake is one of the most powerful modifiable factors in slowing this process. Not the only factor, but one that is entirely within your control, starting today. The 7 fruits I am going to walk you through are not randomly chosen superfoods. Each one has been selected because it delivers specific identified compounds that address oxidative stress and chronic ocular inflammation through distinct, complementary pathways. And I am going to give you not just the what, but the precise how and when that determines whether these compounds actually reach your retinal tissue. Before we begin the countdown, I want to hear from you. Leave your age in the comments and tell me honestly, when did you first notice your vision changing? What was the first symptom that made you think something was different? That context matters, and your experience might help someone else in this community recognize something they have been dismissing. Stay with me all the way through this countdown, because number 3 contains a compound that most eye health discussions never even mention, and what it does to the oxygen supply of your retina is genuinely extraordinary. And number one addresses a process of eye damage so pervasive and so poorly understood by the general public that I believe it will change the way you think about your vision permanently. Number 7, kiwi. The target problem: progressive blue light damage and oxidative stress in the macula. The macula, the central region of your retina responsible for all sharp, detailed vision, is under constant oxidative assault from blue light exposure. Every screen, every fluorescent light, every bright window generates short wavelength blue light that penetrates the lens and focuses directly onto macular tissue, generating localized free radical activity with every photon. Kiwi delivers lutein and zeaxanthin, the two carotenoids that build the macular pigment layer, physically absorbing blue light before it reaches the photoreceptors beneath. Think of them as the eye's built-in UV filter, but one that must be continuously replenished through diet because the body cannot synthesize them independently. The Blue Mountains Eye Study, one of the largest population-based eye health studies ever conducted, found that adults in the highest quartile of dietary lutein and zeaxanthin intake had a 65% lower risk of neovascular macular degeneration compared to those in the lowest quartile. The protective effect was dose-dependent and consistent across a 10-year follow-up period. Golden kiwi delivers higher lutein concentration with lower acidity than green, particularly relevant for adults with sensitive digestive systems who may find green kiwi uncomfortable. Eat 2 golden kiwis 1 hour before bed. Do not fully peel. The immediate subskin layer contains caffeic acid, a hydroxycinnamic acid with potent antioxidant activity that amplifies the protective effect of the lutein. If texture is an issue, blend the whole fruit, skin included, with a small amount of water. Number 6, watermelon. The target problem: lens protein oxidation and the early stages of cataract formation. The crystalline proteins of your lens, the structures responsible for maintaining its transparency and focusing power, are among the most long-lived proteins in the human body. Unlike most proteins, which are regularly broken down and replaced, lens crystallines must remain stable and clear for decades. And they are exquisitely vulnerable to oxidative damage, specifically to the kind of photooxidative stress generated by cumulative light exposure over a lifetime. Watermelon is one of the richest dietary sources of lycopene, a carotenoid with one of the highest antioxidant capacities of any compound found in food. Lycopene has demonstrated a specific protective effect against the oxidative cross-linking of lens crystalline proteins, the molecular event that initiates lens clouding. A landmark study from the Physicians' Health Study found that men with higher dietary lycopene intake had a significantly lower incidence of cataract extraction over a 12-year follow-up, with the protective association strongest in adults over 65. A separate analysis from the Women's Health Study found consistent results in female participants. Consume 1 to 2 cups of fresh watermelon 30 minutes before bed. Avoid adding salt. Sodium increases intraocular pressure and can counteract the vascular benefits of the lycopene. For a meaningful amplification of the effect, blend the white rind alongside the flesh. The rind is rich in citrulline, which converts to arginine and supports nitric oxide synthesis, improving the flexibility of the retinal microvasculature and enhancing oxygen and nutrient delivery to the lens and retina simultaneously. Number 5, black currants. The target problem: chronic retinal microinflammation and optic nerve blood flow restriction. Chronic low-grade inflammation within retinal tissue creates a progressive environment of cellular stress that accelerates photoreceptor loss, disrupts the retinal pigment epithelium, and critically reduces blood flow to the optic nerve. Reduced optic nerve perfusion is one of the primary pathological mechanisms in glaucoma, and chronic retinal microinflammation is increasingly recognized as a contributor to the early stages of multiple forms of age-related vision loss. Black currants contain extraordinary concentrations of anthocyanins, specifically the delphinidin and cyanidin glycosides that have demonstrated direct anti-inflammatory activity in retinal tissue alongside vasoactive effects on the optic nerve vasculature. A controlled clinical study published in Ophthalmologica found that black currant anthocyanin supplementation over 6 months produced statistically significant improvements in ocular blood flow velocity in adults with normal tension glaucoma, a condition characterized by optic nerve damage in the absence of elevated intraocular pressure, directly implicating microvascular insufficiency as a primary driver. When fresh black currants are unavailable, which is most of the year in most locations, a standardized anthocyanin extract delivering 50 milligrams of anthocyanins is the most reliable alternative. Take it in the evening with a small handful of walnuts. The healthy fats in walnuts act as a lipid carrier for the anthocyanins, dramatically improving their absorption and extending their circulation time. Number 4. Blueberries. The target problem: accumulated DNA damage in photoreceptor cells and declining repair capacity. One of the least discussed consequences of chronic oxidative stress in aging eyes is the accumulation of unrepaired DNA damage within the photoreceptor cells of the retina. Photoreceptors, the rods and cones that actually convert light into electrical signals, are postmitotic cells, meaning they cannot be replaced once lost. Their survival depends entirely on the efficiency of their internal DNA repair mechanisms. And those mechanisms require specific molecular activators to function at full capacity after 60. Wild blueberries deliver pterostilbene, a stilbenoid compound with superior blood-retinal barrier penetration compared to most dietary antioxidants. Once inside retinal tissue, pterostilbene activates NRF2, the master transcription factor that regulates the expression of over 200 antioxidant and DNA repair genes within the cell. It is not simply an antioxidant itself. It activates your cell's own antioxidant and repair machinery. A 2022 study in Free Radical Biology and Medicine found that pterostilbene administration in aged retinal cell models produced significant upregulation of DNA repair enzyme expression alongside measurable reductions in oxidative damage markers, effects that were substantially greater than equivalent doses of resveratrol, confirming pterostilbene's superior bioavailability and potency. Wild blueberries consistently deliver approximately double the pterostilbene content of cultivated varieties, a direct consequence of their smaller size and correspondingly higher skin-to-flesh ratio. 1/3 of a cup 45 minutes before bed. No dairy within 2 hours, casein binds pterostilbene and blocks its absorption before it can reach your bloodstream. This is a non-negotiable rule for this particular fruit. Number 3. Dragon fruit. The target problem: retinal hypoxia, the silent oxygen starvation of retinal tissue that occurs as retinal capillaries narrow with age. I told you at the beginning of this video that number 3 contains a compound most eye health discussions never address, and that what it does to your retina's oxygen supply is genuinely extraordinary. Here is the story. Your retina consumes more oxygen per unit of tissue weight than your brain. It is the most oxygen-hungry tissue in the body per gram, and that demand is continuous, day and night. The oxygen comes through a network of microscopic capillaries so fine that red blood cells must pass through them single file. When these capillaries stiffen or narrow with age, accelerated by oxidative stress and chronic inflammation, oxygen delivery to the outer retinal layers drops. Photoreceptors begin to function below their optimal threshold. Visual sensitivity declines. And the nighttime repair cycle that depends on adequate oxygen cannot run to completion. Red flesh dragon fruit contains betalains and beta-cyanin precursors that specifically support endothelial nitric oxide synthase, the enzyme responsible for producing nitric oxide in blood vessel walls. Nitric oxide is the primary signaling molecule that causes blood vessels to dilate and remain flexible, and its production in the retinal microvasculature is directly correlated with capillary oxygen delivery efficiency. Research published in Oxidative Medicine and Cellular Longevity in 2022 found that betalan supplementation produced measurable improvements in endothelial function and microvascular reactivity in adults over 65, with the researchers noting particular relevance for tissues with high oxygen demand, including retinal tissue. Red flesh variety, only the white flesh variety contains negligible betalan concentrations. Half of fruit 1 hour before bed. Chew the seeds thoroughly, do not swallow them whole. The small black seeds contain omega-3 fatty acids and magnesium that support the structural integrity of capillary walls and the efficiency of oxygen exchange across the capillary retina interface. Number 2, goji berries. The target problem, macular pigment depletion and progressive central vision loss. The zeaxanthin story in goji berries deserves more attention than it typically receives because zeaxanthin's role in protecting the fovea, the very center of your macula where visual acuity is highest, is one of the most well-documented nutritional mechanisms in all of ophthalmological research. Goji berries contain zeaxanthin at concentrations that are unmatched by virtually any other whole food, approximately 2.4 milligrams per gram of dried berry. Zeaxanthin deposits preferentially in the foveal center of the macula, where it serves a dual function, physically filtering short-wavelength light and acting as an antioxidant within the tissue itself, neutralizing free radicals generated by the photochemical reactions of vision. Additionally, goji berries contain betaine, a compound that reduces homocysteine levels in the bloodstream. Elevated homocysteine is an independent risk factor for both macular degeneration and glaucoma, as it promotes vascular inflammation and endothelial dysfunction in the retinal microvasculature. A study published in Optometry and Vision Science found that daily consumption of goji berry extract over 90 days produced a statistically significant increase in macular pigment optical density in adults over 65, meaning the protective zeaxanthin layer in the macula had measurably thickened, alongside reductions in plasma homocysteine levels. Rehydrate dried goji berries in warm water for 10 minutes before eating. This improves zeaxanthin bioaccessibility by softening the cellular matrix encasing it. Pair with a small square of 85% dark chocolate. The flavonols in high-percentage dark chocolate independently improve retinal blood flow, and the fat content boosts zeaxanthin absorption. 2 tablespoons of soaked goji berries with dark chocolate, 60 to 90 minutes before bed, is the most effective and enjoyable delivery method I can recommend. Number 1, papaya. The target problem, glycation, the sugar-driven damage process that clouds lenses and degrades retinal proteins silently over decades. And here is the process that I believe most people watching this video have never heard of, and that I genuinely believe is one of the most important concepts in understanding why vision deteriorates with age. Glycation is the non-enzymatic reaction between glucose molecules and protein structures throughout the body. In the eye, glycation targets 2 critical structures. First, the crystalline proteins of the lens, causing them to cross-link, aggregate, and lose transparency, producing the clouding effect of cataracts. Second, the collagen fibers of the vitreous body and the extracellular matrix of the retina, stiffening these structures and impairing their function. The resulting compounds, advanced glycation end products or AGEs, also bind to receptors on retinal cells and trigger inflammatory cascades that further accelerate oxidative damage. Glycation and oxidative stress are not separate problems. They feed each other, and together they represent the most pervasive and underdressed driver of age-related visual decline. Papaya attacks this process from 2 simultaneous directions. its extraordinary vitamin C content, one of the highest per gram of any whole fruit, competes with glucose for the protein binding sites, where glycation is initiated, reducing the rate of AGE formation in both lens and retinal tissue. And its unique proteolytic enzyme papain actively breaks down early-stage glycated protein complexes before they can progress to irreversible crosslinks. Papaya also delivers beta-cryptoxanthin, which converts to vitamin A and is directly required for rhodopsin synthesis, the visual pigment your rod cells use for low-light vision. In one fruit, you're addressing glycation prevention, early glycation repair, and visual pigment regeneration simultaneously. A 2021 systematic review in Antioxidants found that dietary vitamin C intake was inversely and significantly associated with both nuclear and cortical cataract prevalence, the two forms of cataract most directly linked to glycation-driven protein changes. A separate analysis found that adults with the highest dietary beta-cryptoxanthin intake showed the greatest preservation of rod photoreceptor function over a 5-year follow-up period. Fully ripe papaya only, the beta-cryptoxanthin concentration increases dramatically with ripening and peaks when the flesh is deeply orange and yields to gentle pressure. Room temperature, never cold. Cold suppresses papain activity, eliminating the anti-glycation enzyme benefit. 1 cup of cubes, drizzled with fresh lime juice 1 hour before bed. The vitamin C in lime synergizes with papaya's own vitamin C to amplify the AG blocking effect. And the mild acidity improves the conversion efficiency of beta-cryptoxanthin to active vitamin A by approximately 15% based on in vitro absorption studies. Knowing which fruits to eat is the foundation, but how you eat them determines how much of their benefit actually reaches your retinal tissue. These 5 rules are the difference between impressive results and no results at all. Rule 1. Separate from dairy by 90 minutes. Calcium ions in dairy products bind competitively with polyphenol and carotenoids, forming insoluble complexes in the digestive tract that are excreted rather than absorbed. The research suggests this can reduce effective antioxidant absorption by up to 30%. Separate dairy consumption from your eye health fruit serving by at least 90 minutes in either direction. Rule 2. Always pair with healthy fat. Lutein, zeaxanthin, lycopene, beta-cryptoxanthin, and pterostilbene are all lipophilic. They dissolve in fat, not water, and require fat to be absorbed efficiently through the intestinal wall. A small handful of walnuts, half an avocado, or a light drizzle of cold-pressed olive oil alongside your fruit serving can increase carotenoid absorption by 50 to 80%. This single rule may be the most impactful thing you take from today's video. Rule 3. Wash gently, never scrub. Surface polyphenol on kiwi skin, blueberry bloom, and dragon fruit skin are fragile. Scrubbing removes them. Rinse under cool water using your fingertips only, and always rinse immediately before eating, not before refrigerating, as wet skin during storage accelerates polyphenol degradation. Rule 4. Room temperature is non-negotiable. Cold temperatures below 10 degrees Celsius reduce the enzymatic activity of papain, slow the dissolution of fat-soluble carotenoids in the gut, and reduce the bioaccessibility of surface anthocyanins. Remove refrigerated fruits at least 20 minutes before eating. This is a small habit with a meaningful nutritional return. Rule 5. Eat 60 to 90 minutes before sleep. This is the rule that ties everything together. Peak plasma levels of the compounds in today's fruits, particularly carotenoids and anthocyanins, are reached approximately 60 to 90 minutes after consumption. Timing your fruit intake to this window before sleep ensures those peak levels coincide with the opening of your retina's primary overnight repair cycle. Morning consumption is better than no consumption, but evening timing is where the real results live. Many years of research has taught me many things, but the most important thing it has taught me has nothing to do with biochemistry. It is this. People accept a great deal of preventable decline because nobody has told them clearly enough that it is preventable. They squint because they have been told that squinting is what aging eyes do. They stop driving at night because they believe that night vision loss is simply what happens. They put down books they love because reading has become uncomfortable, and they assume that is just the way it is now. It is not just the way it is. The oxidative stress driving your visual decline is modifiable. The glycation damaging your lens proteins is addressable. The retinal microinflammation impairing your dark adaptation is responsive to the specific compounds in the fruits we discussed today. The science is not speculative. The mechanisms are documented. The clinical evidence is real. What has been missing for too many people for too long is simply being told clearly and specifically what to do about it. Now you know. Your 2-week challenge for the next 2 weeks: commit to eating at least 3 of the 7 fruits on today's list every evening, 60 to 90 minutes before bed, paired with a small amount of healthy fat. Follow the 5 rules precisely. At the end of 2 weeks, notice your morning eyes. Notice how quickly they adjust when you enter a dim room. Notice whether the dryness and scratchiness has changed. Notice whether reading feels marginally easier or more comfortable. Small changes. Quiet improvements. The retina does not announce its recovery loudly, but it does recover when it has what it needs. Leave a comment below with your age and the vision symptom that brought you to this video. Let this community know where you are starting from, and come back in 60 days with an update. If this video helped you see the problem differently, please hit like and share it with someone over 60 who is quietly accepting a decline that does not have to be permanent. Subscribe for weekly evidence-based content on vision health, healthy aging, and the nutritional science that most people never hear about until it is too late. Your vision is worth fighting for. Start tonight.